Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Speedrunners and Coffee. My guest today is another very prolific horror speedrunner, having ran Silent Hill, Silent Hill 2, Silent Hill 3, Silent Hill 4, Dino Crisis 2, and also Tormented Souls, just to name a few. He is also a moderator for horror games as well, so that's a first time for anything. I introduce to you Mr. Mcsqueezy. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very good. Having some coffee, of course. So you've been speed running according to SRC since 2020. What got you into speed running?
One of my friends at the time, the first game I speedran was Dino Crisis 2, and I got that around Christmas time 2019. Did a few streams of it, the console version, and I got about 3/4 of the way through within about 2 hours, and I thought, hey, hang on a second, this is that speedrunning thing that I keep hearing about. And then one of my friends at the time said, why don't you just do it? Just, start learning the game and running it. So yeah, that pretty much kicked that off. I think by January of that year for Dino Crisis 2, I managed to work my way up to third place on the console boards, which was pretty nice. I've lost it since, but yeah, it was pretty good.
Nice. Did you have like an initial goal when starting that run?
Not really. It was more a case of let's just kind of put my toes in the water kind of thing, have a little paddle around, see what happens. I think as I got closer and closer to sort of seeing, oh hey, I'm getting quite close to these top times. I thought, can I try and like get to the top of the board? So initially no, but after sort of a couple of weeks or so, I was like, actually yes, let's try and go for recce. Spoiler alert, I did not get recce.
Very fair. So, like, were you into like speedrunning before this at all, or was this like because your friend suggested it, you were like, all right, I am now into this. Let me learn about the things of speedrun culture.
Yeah, I mean, I'd seen videos on speedrunning. So I'd seen a few from Summoning Salt, sort of Carl Jobs, sort of the kind of, I guess, big names when it comes to speedrun documentaries or just videos in general. So as a layman on the outside of the speedrunning sphere, that was sort of my whole view of it, was just sort of what these guys were putting out.
Okay.
So it was nice sort of getting into it, sort of joining Discord servers and sort of meeting people who had the same games that they ran, and sort of really seeing how much of a community there was behind it.
Okay. What's kind of your decision process when it comes to deciding what game you're going to run?
I guess the first decision is, do I like the game? Can I see myself playing this game hours on end, reset after reset? I think that's a pretty important thing. If you kind of get bored of a game after sort of 2 resets, or you don't like the game, you're not going to have a fun time running it. So that's certainly, I think, the first decision. The second decision is how many strats are in the game. So a bit weird with Dino Crisis 2. That was just a case of I knew nothing about it, went into it. But for later games like Silent Hill 1, 2, 3, Tomb Raider 3 as well, it's like a case of, okay, there's a few glitches in these games. I want to try and do these tricks. I want to see if I can get any good with them. I think an element of that is practicing these tricks and these different strats that people have. And just, yeah, being able to build yourself up to do them quite consistently. I think that's a good part of the decision process is, yeah, how fun are the tricks? Are there any tricks?
Yeah, that is fair. So you also moderate for boards. What led to that decision?
So it was one of those things where I think I was at uni at the time. I had a system through work where I'd go to uni a week at a time. I think it was June or July of 2021. And I just finished my first set of exams. Well, I've got all this free time that I'm not really doing anything in. And I thought, I play the games enough. I kind of know the games enough as well for Silent Hill 1, 2, and 3. I'll just be cheeky, just type in general in the Discord. Do you need any mods? Don't know if this is the done thing to do, but if you need any help, I've got free time. And then, yeah, next thing I knew, yeah, Punchy just added me straight away. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Very nice. Has it been difficult or anything like that being a mod, or is it just kind of business as usual in the speed running world?
At first, it was a case of making sure I knew which runs were which. So if somebody had run with like a widescreen fix or something like that, it was kind of getting to know the intricacies of things like that. So which cutscenes or inventory screens are different. In later and perhaps more current times, yes, it can be a bit difficult when you've got kind of communities fighting. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say fighting, but there's a lot of discussion going on about, do we switch to IGT or RTA? Because for those that don't know, Silent Hill 3 had something very broken discovered recently, where pressing the supply key over and over and over saves, I think, exactly 1 frame per second, which leads to a lot of IGT time save. So there's a lot of arguing to and for, or for and against.
Mm-hmm.
So dealing with, I think, managing that, trying to keep everybody happy, but knowing full well that not everybody's going to be happy with the final decision is a bit tough.
Yeah, and it's also very painful to do, because trying to mash a button to save 1 frame per press is painful. Don't
Absolutely,
do it. I've
it
tried. 6 hours of that, or 7 hours of that, and it's like, ow, there's the pain.
Send any injury claims to SH2 Luck.
Now, do you have any influences in the speedrun world, or because you kind of started as an outsider, is that not the case?
Interesting question, because I didn't have any influences when I started out. I guess I knew of like a few people. Like I knew of Bork Pursuit. I guess I'd seen a few of Bork's speedruns for RE2, like remake when it first came out, but it wasn't anybody that I like followed intensely. I just sort of knew that they existed, kind of thing. They did speedruns and that speedruns were a thing. As I've I guess grown through my speedrun journey, I've certainly had a few influences. So Aaron, lovely guy, runs Silent Hill 1. Sort of seeing him go for the world record at the time, which was 29:57, the first ever sub 30 for Silent Hill 1. Like hanging out in his chat, watching that was incredible. Just sort of the level of determination that he had, and the community behind him as well. And then like Aaron's definitely a big influence. People like Soso as well, that help find these broken things that we're thankful for Silent Hill 3, and helping flesh them out, things like that. A few of the influences there, but definitely like people like Punchy as well, who sort of manage the boards overall. As much as I sort of try to think that I can do what Punchy can do moderating wise, like there is a lot of work that I think he does, and a lot of hard decisions he's got to make to do that as well. But also he's very, very excellent at speedrunning as well. Sort of any game he touches, he can do really well in. I'd say those are the sort of my 3 top influences. Obviously, not to mention my friends that I like to watch, like Boris, Saf, Tropes, sort of people that I normally hang around in chats of. We sort of all egg each other on. So I think we all influence each other to a certain degree there. But the ones that I've named are the main one.
Okay, very, very fair. Is there a game that you regret running, and or a game you wish you continued to learn but didn't?
A game that I regret running. I would probably say the regrets. I wouldn't necessarily have got any regrets over running a game, because if it sort of gets to the point where I'm not liking it anymore, I'll just stop running it, and then that's it, kind of thing. So something like Psycho no Sutoka, which is that anime game that I created the board for, I ran it for like I think 1 month, and then that was it. What was the other part of the question? Sorry.
Is there a game you wish you continued to learn but didn't?
That would probably be Dino Crisis 2. It's one of my favorite Dino Crisis games, and while I've done runs of it, I think as recently as last year, I haven't really gone as in depth into it as I have with a game like Silent Hill, for example. Like I've spent many more hours on Silent Hill, which I'm thankful for, because I've met so many great people through doing that. But I do kind of want to go back to my roots at some point and say, actually, let's put some more time into Dino Crisis 2.
Very fair. So is that something you're going to do in 2023?
Possibly. There's a lot of things I want to do in 2023. Watch this space. I think Dino Crisis 2 will make an appearance.
Ooh, very, very exciting. It's also very weird that game never came out to the Dreamcast. For those who don't know, Dino Crisis 1 was eventually ported to the Dreamcast, but Dino Crisis 2 has only been on the PS1, strangely enough. Do you have any event rituals by chance?
Yes and no. In terms of rituals, I tend to practice the day before and the day of. I'll sometimes maybe do like one practice the week before as well. I don't get too into it, but I think my very first event, which was Thunderfon Winter Wonderland in, I think it was 2020 going into 2021. I just did like a run or two of, because I was running Silent Hill 3 extra new game at the time. So I did a few practice runs literally before the event, before my time slot, and I managed to snag second place doing that. Well, okay, that's all the practice I really need in that respect.
Yeah, that would do it. But nothing like a certain food that you would eat beforehand, or like doing like something like just out of habit, just basically doing a bit of practice beforehand.
No, I don't think so. I might maybe like, because I'm sort of an on and off smoker. If I'm in my smoking phase, I'll probably maybe have a few more cigarettes before the event, just to kind of calm my nerves, kind of thing. It's a very nervous thing. As somebody that's done a few events, I still get nervous. Sort of in the build up to it, it's sort of the height gets to me, kind of thing.
I think that's all of us. I think all of us get nervous because we never know what's going to happen, and sometimes marathon luck can struck. Sometimes it can be kind and leave us alone for a bit. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen a few runs where luck has not been nice to people, unfortunately.
Yeah, trust me. It's happened. Any games you're currently playing, either casually or secretly speedrunning right now?
Oh, so I've been playing a lot, and I mean an ungodly amount of old school RuneScape recently. That's a game I play sort of on and off all the time. I can sometimes go 6 months without playing it, and then 2 solid months of just playing only that. But interestingly, if you don't know what old school RuneScape is, it's like an old school MMO, sort of 2D, 3D. Takes a lot of time to get your skill levels up and stuff like that. But they've recently released something called Speedrunning Worlds, because their servers are a world system. So that might be something that I have maybe had a little dabble in recently, perhaps. See how that goes. But I've also been playing Returnal on PlayStation 5. It's a game that when I first got it, I put a little bit of time into it, didn't really kind of play it much after that initial sort of session. But I thought I'll go back to it recently, and I'm really enjoying it. I like the whole roguelike element. I like how the environment changes every time as well. So there's sort of no one playthrough is the same, which I guess is, the definition of a roguelike.
Very true. Something you consider speedrunning, or just not your jam in terms of a speed run?
Definitely more of a casual game for me. It is a game where I think the faster you go, the more effective you are. But there are some games I just like to kind of take my time, sort of walk around, kind of take in the environments and things like that.
Yeah, very true. Plus, the game is coming out on PC soon, so if you wanted to, I think it's coming out on PC anyway, so probably
Pretty sure it is.
better for a speed run capacity there. Although apparently games on PlayStation are starting to get speedrunner modes. That was a thing with The Last of Us Part 1. I was watching somebody when that came out, and it was like, there's a speedrunner mode for this? What the heck? Okay.
It's really interesting. I think a lot of these games that do this as well, they have devs that actually speak to the speedrunning communities and say, hey, we're going to implement this. How should we do it? So it's good that there is that dialogue.
Yeah, hopefully it's something that we see in more games as they come out, because it would certainly make it easier on modders and or moderators and things like that, so they don't have to make speed run tools or like timers and what's the thing I'm looking for? Things that pause timers on cutscenes and stuff. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank on these things.
Load removers or
Yeah.
IGT times.
Yeah, if the boards do decide to go with IGT times. For those who don't know what IGT is, it stands for in-game time. RTA's real-time attack, which just basically stands for real-time. I don't know why we call it RTA instead of RT, but hey, speed running terms. Any games you're currently looking forward to speed running?
I think Silent Hill 2 remake, when that eventually comes out, very much a game that I'll play casually at first, but I probably will try and sink a lot of time into it speedrun wise.
Yeah, it's a shame that you need a powerful PC or a PS5 for that one. Rip. I don't know if you've seen the PC specs for that.
Yes, I think minimum you need a 2080. They're saying, I think, for minimum.
Yeah, and it's
Um,
just like, damn. I didn't realize we were at that point in video games where we would need top cards from 2 generations ago to run games. It's kind of ridiculous.
It is, yeah. It even means it's very, very gorgeous looking, or it's heavily unoptimized, which I'm hoping it will be, because that'll be good for speedrunning.
Yeah, fingers crossed that it's hopefully going to be optimized. Kind of a shame that they didn't announce the previous PC ports would come to like Steam or something like that, or even GOG, with only Silent Hill 4 being available through them. For those who don't know, Silent Hill 2, 3, and 4, as well as Homecoming, are on PC. Homecoming is available through Steam, though it is extremely broken. And Silent Hill 4 was released on GOG, but 2 and 3 are kind of left in the shadow realm, forever to just sit in the abandonware pile. Granted, I don't know if they would break them trying to put them on Steam or GOG, and then that would create a whole new bag of worms.
I'm half tempted. I've got a DX Wind wrapper, which seems to have Homecoming work without crashing. So I'm half tempted to try and speedrun on PC with a PC version that doesn't crash and just see how much of a time I can get on it.
Oh, God.
See if I can compete with the Xbox.
Well, I wish you luck, because we've got Series X and Series S for that, so it's not just even competing with Xbox 360 at that point, it's competing with fast hard drives.
The question is, do I want to put myself through that pain? And the answer is probably yes. It'd be interesting to try.
It's also very interesting that they didn't put Downpour back on the Xbox store. For those who don't know, if you have a physical disc of Silent Hill Downpour on Xbox, you can use it on your Series X, but you cannot purchase the game on the Xbox store, even though there's a listing for it. There is a listing, it just constantly says game is unavailable, and it's like, why is this a thing? I mean, I've heard the game is bad, but if people want to buy it, it makes you money, and I mean, you have Homecoming and HD collection on, so it's just a thing.
I think part of it might be with licensing issues, because I think they use that Korn song at the end.
Oh, right, Korn's in the game. I forgot Korn is in the game. Interesting.
I might be wrong, but I think that might be part of the reason.
Maybe, just maybe. Although, again, Microsoft's made of money. If they can spend $69 billion to get Activision, I'm sure they could throw Korn some money, since apparently Microsoft was sort of the driving force behind all these backwards compatible games, and we're paying devs to make them backwards compatible. So I would assume that they could be like, hey, Korn, here's some money. Can we have the soundtrack and everything's good? I don't know what Korn song they use. I don't know if it was something written specifically for the game, like Never Dead. If anybody remembers that game that had a specific song written by Megadeth for it. I remember that being the big selling point, was the fact that, hey, we got Megadeth to write a song for this game. And it was like, cool, I guess. It was a terrible game. Don't play the game. That was when Konami was in its we're spending loads of money on things that people wouldn't care about phase.
Oh, how the times have changed.
Oh, yes. The times have changed, and now they make Apple Arcade games and pachinko machines, and letting developers that people are skeptical about do things. I still have no opinion on the Team Blooper debate, because I've never played a Team Blooper game. The only thing I know is that everybody loves Observer. That's all I know.
I'll be perfectly honest. I played through the medium fairly recently, in my backlog, and I finished it. And there were quite a few points where I was like, actually, if there was combat, like the looks, I think they've got the looks down. If the combat is right, I think SH2 Remake could end up being pretty good. Hot take, unpopular take, whatever, but yeah, I've got hope.
I mean, I have hope too, because the fact that they brought back Yamaoka and Ito, it's like, if these two are involved somehow, I guarantee you they're gonna be like, what the hell are you doing? No, it should be this and this. So I don't know what the structure is here. I've heard the rumors that Konami kept them on a tight leash, but also I have a feeling that if those two are involved, they probably went with no, this is what you want. Like they're the ones in charge of the project, and Team Blooper are kind of just the grunts. And it's like, no, you're going to follow their direction, and they're going to tell you what to do and what should be right. James's face still looks weird to me, but other than that, I mean, I don't know when I'll get to play the game because I don't have a PS5 or a powerful enough PC. But when I get a PS5, I will play it whenever that may be.
That's one thing it's got going for it is people will play it, regardless whether they think they're going to like it or not. I think everybody and their dog is going to be playing Silent Hill 2 Remake in some capacity, or watching it in some capacity.
Yeah, watching or playing, speed running, because I guarantee you, even with everyone's like worries and whatnot, it's like you're gonna speed run it and you're gonna see it, and then it's gonna be like, oh, huzzah. I'm very curious to see what Aaron's going to do with that game. I don't know when he'll be playing it because I don't think he has a PS5, and he's a very frugal gentleman. So I don't know when he'll be playing the game, but I have a feeling that he will break that game wide open like he does with 2OG. We talked about him earlier, and he has all the world records for 2 except for Born from a Wish. Also, does Born from a Wishmaker return?
See, that would be interesting. I would hope it would. It is kind of maybe not an integral part of the story, but it's a nice like extra bit of story you get. I would hope they would.
Yeah, I do wonder if they're going to add any additional content. Speaking of additional content and changes, I hope missionary mode comes back in RE4 Remake. Oh, how I hope.
That would be fun.
Yes. I'm very curious to see what they're going to do with that one. It's interesting that they're doing a PS4 port, but they're not doing an Xbox One port of that. Because I believe it was TGS. They were like, "Hey, we're releasing this on PS4," and everyone was like, "What?" Because originally it was only supposed to be PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. And then at TGS at that point, they were like, "Oh yeah, PS4." So it's like, aha, interesting.
I wonder why that is. I mean, either way, I'm looking forward to RE4 Remake. That's going to be like a day one purchase for me.
Oh yeah, it's day one for me as well, and it probably has to do something with the fact that there's still like 116 million PS4s out there and less than 20 million PS5s, and I don't know how many Xbox Series there are. It's just a little weird that they wouldn't do an Xbox One port as well. I guess the Xbox One is finally, people are just like, man, this thing's not worth developing for anymore, which is interesting because the Switch still gets ports. I'm almost convinced that maybe RE4 might get a Switch port, though granted that we only got cloud ports of 7, 8, 3, and 2, that it might just be another cloud port or something like that.
Yeah, it's a good way to go about it, I think. I did try one of the cloud. Well, I tried a demo of the RE8 cloud port, and it was interesting, sort of playing a game of that fidelity on a console like the Switch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also a cloud port is that it's sitting on a server and you're just connecting to the server. I remember back in the day there was a service. This is like early 2010s, maybe late 2000s, where it was like, you know, you play a game off of a high server and you can like play off of a Mac or anything. It was also quite expensive because that was before Canada. All the major internet providers stopped having internet caps. So basically, half an hour would basically cost you 4 gigs of an internet cap. And it's like, yeah, that's way too expensive because you'd be playing it at the highest settings imaginable for those games at the time. And it was like, okay, that's 4 gigs in a half hour. I can't, like, I'd be having hundreds of dollars in internet bills at that point. And now, sort of.
Sorry. So I remember using one of those services actually. I think it was to play the first Metro, I think it was. And my internet connection at the time could not keep up with the what was being given to me. So even though I was meant to be able to play this like lag-free, it was not lag-free. I was still getting stutters and stuff because my internet couldn't handle it.
Yeah, and I wasn't getting any lag. It was just, oh my god, this is going to cost me so much money because I've just used 4 gigs in a half hour. That's insane. But now it would kind of work if it was a thing. But again, it's very weird cloud gaming 20 years later, or 11 years later, and everyone's like, cloud gaming is gross. And I can see that being a point. Also, fun fact for those who didn't know, RE7 Cloud has been a thing in Japan since like the Switch's launch year, because Capcom back in the day was like, hey, can you put more RAM in this thing so we can get RE7 to run on your hardware? Because originally it wasn't going to have 4 gigs of RAM, it was going to have less RAM. And then Capcom was like, hey, we want to see if we can get this game to run. Can you put more RAM in it? And so they did. And then RE7 never came out. It only came out in a cloud form. It's like, well, that's lame. Damn it,
Well,
Capcom.
thank you, Capcom.
Yeah, thanks, Capcom. That's just kind of the thing, I guess. But yeah, it should be a good time. So thank you so much for coming on. It was fun chatting about non-speedrun stuff, as well as the speedrun stuff. Again, if people want to find you, where can they do so?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, first of all. Yeah, I'm on Twitch, twitch.tv/Mr_Mcsqueezy. Also on Twitter, twitter.com/Mr. McSqueezy. No underscores for that one, and I'm awkward like that. And I'm also on YouTube as well. At the minute, my YouTube is mainly a place for speedrun VODs, but I am planning on, hopefully in the new year, getting some actual content out, like video essays and stuff like that. So yeah, I've got a good mixture going on, hopefully.
Yes, you've been working on that Parasite Eve video that
Yes,
that
yes.
you've been touting about for a while, and it's just like waiting with bated breath for that to come out at some point.
Yeah, I'm trying to perfect it. So if I'm going into it, I want to make sure that I'm doing it in a way that I'm happy with, kind of thing.
Yes, of course. Of course, by the time this releases, it might be out for all we know.
Yes, I'm aiming for either end of this year, 2022, or if not then, certainly start of 2023. So it's in the next couple of weeks.
Very fair. At the time of recording, we are at the 23rd of December. But yes, thank you so much again for coming on. I super appreciate it, and hopefully you get some good runs in the new year.
Thank you very much. You too.